series of drone strikes overnight in the Kharkiv region, a giant flash, and a column of fire over Chuhuiv. Local communities say they were hitting the same spot over and over again. What was destroyed there is still being kept secret. A NATO country is discussing direct involvement in the conflict in Ukraine. They are already talking about the possible deployment of troops, air force, and ground units. Who are they and what do they want? We'll find out in a few minutes. Azerbaijan is transitioning its army to NATO standards, officially, directly, without reservation. This could shift the balance of power in the South Caucasus and undermine old alliance agreements. Trump was sent a black mark. A state of emergency is being declared at the U.S. Air Base where Air Force One is based. Suspicious package, white powder, political materials, the FBI is involved. Is this a coincidence, or has the global combination already been launched? Stay with us, watch until the end. It only gets more interesting from here. On the night of November 7th, one of the most large-scale Russian drone attacks in recent times was recorded in the Kharkiv region. The main target was the city of Chuhuiv. Local public pages and eyewitnesses claim that a whole series of drones entered the city, each hitting the same spot, giving the impression of a methodical targeting process. According to residents, the distinctive sound of Geran engines was heard first, followed by powerful explosions. After one of the strikes, a bright flash appeared on the horizon, followed by thick clouds of smoke filling the sky. City communities reported that the attack affected the industrial area. One of the public pages noted that everything hit the same spot and that there is so much smoke that visibility has been drastically reduced. Another public page clarified that, according to preliminary data, a civilian enterprise and warehouses were damaged. Emergency services arrived at the scene, but the scale of the fire complicated the work. According to sources connected to the Mykolaiv underground, the targets of the attacks were not only warehouses and logistics points, but also repair facilities where equipment and weapons were located. The wave tactics of drone deployment indicate an attempt to test the density of air defenses while simultaneously inflicting maximum damage on supply facilities. Official bodies are currently refraining from providing detailed comments. The information is being updated. Reports in the British press about the UK's possible direct involvement in the Ukrainian conflict have become one of the most discussed topics on the international stage. According to The Guardian, several scenarios are being considered within UK defense circles, including sending units to Ukrainian territory or participating in a so-called post-war mission as part of an allied coalition. Options are being discussed, ranging from limited support to the use of various types of troops, including air and ground forces. If such a step is taken, London will become the first European country to officially deploy military personnel in a conflict zone. Earlier, information appeared in Western media that Prime Minister Keir Starmer is interested in strengthening Britain's role in international politics and is considering participation in the war as a way to demonstrate to allies a commitment to NATO obligations. Furthermore, the discussions were accompanied by mentions of Article 5 of the North Atlantic Treaty, although Ukraine is not a member of the alliance, meaning that the application of the article would be purely political. The expert community's assessment of the situation is mixed. On the one hand, the UK does indeed possess one of the most capable military potentials in Europe. According to the annual Global Firepower ranking for 2025, the country is in the top 10 global armies. The United Kingdom's Ministry of Defense confirms that the country is among the leaders in terms of defense spending. On the other hand, analysts point to a shortage of personnel and equipment. The Telegraph notes that creating a full expeditionary force could require a reallocation of resources, which would affect the UK's own defense capabilities. Russian foreign experts are also drawing attention to the possible consequences. The participation of British troops would signify a qualitatively new level of NATO involvement, which increases the risks of direct confrontation between major powers. Azerbaijan's decision to transition its armed forces to NATO standards came as a surprise to many observers. If Baku previously positioned itself as a partner of Moscow and a participant in regional initiatives involving Russia, the official course is now shifting towards Western structures. During a meeting with a delegation from the North Atlantic Alliance in Baku, President Ilham Aliyev stated that the adaptation process has already begun and is considered a long-term strategic element. Established after the territories were returned under Azerbaijan's control, Aliyev emphasized that the choice was made consciously. The army must meet modern requirements, and NATO standards, he said, have proven effective, including thanks to military cooperation with Turkey. But the transition to standards is not just about equipping army units with new technology. This refers to the transformation of the military command and control system, officer training, and the integration of new approaches to logistics and operational planning. Such steps effectively build compatibility with the armies of the alliance countries. Simultaneously, Azerbaijan proposed holding joint exercises for the member states of the Organization of Turkic States in 2026. It is evident that Baku views military cooperation as part of a broader geopolitical architecture where Turkey plays a key role as a NATO member. Moscow reacted cautiously to Aliyev's statement. The Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs recalled that Azerbaijan is a strategic ally and noted the influence of external forces that hinder the deepening of cooperation with Russia. However, the very fact of the army's transition to NATO standards is an indicator of a strategic choice that is difficult to explain by temporary circumstances. Joint Base Andrews in Maryland, one of the Pentagon's key bases and the permanent home of the presidential aircraft, was placed on high alert. The reason was an incident involving a suspicious package that was opened by National Military Command Center personnel. After opening it inside, they found a white powder and political leaflets. Sources reported that, upon contact with the contents, several employees experienced a sudden deterioration. There were signs of poisoning or severe stress in their condition. The personnel were immediately evacuated and isolated in a special area until the arrival. Chemical and Biological Reaction Group, chemical and toxicological protection specialists, as well as representatives of emergency services, arrived at the scene. Initial tests did not reveal any traces of particularly dangerous substances such as anthrax or toxic chemical reagents. However, experts emphasize that a rapid analysis doesn't always provide a complete picture, so the powder was sent for in-depth laboratory testing until the experts complete their testing. The unit's territory remains under enhanced control. The package contained political materials which adds additional context to the incident. The period of electoral activity and political turbulence is approaching in the United States. Special services traditionally record a surge in attempts at pressure, intimidation, and provocations based on internal political contradictions. The presence of political propaganda inside a suspicious package is considered an intentional signal, not an accident. The FBI classified the incident as a potential threat to national security, which means federal analysts and forensic experts are now involved. Joint Base Andrews plays a key role in the U.S. defense infrastructure. High-ranking military and government officials pass through it. The database is linked to strategic management centers. Any attempts to infiltrate or exert pressure through such objects are taken extremely seriously. Friends, subscribe to the channel and leave your opinion. It will be interesting to get acquainted with him. Thank you for watching.